Well, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I haven't been doing a live session on this channel for a while, so I figured I'd do something. What I'd like to do is go over, from a philosophical perspective, the issues with DEI, reparations, and the things that we have been seeing with the Pride movement, all right, over the years, and how they all intersect. All right. I wanted this video to be a little bit more lower key, just a little bit more calm. Not all the Mars going at 1,000 flickers a second, and just have it be more of a calm sit-down conversation. And I'd like to play an audio of a show discussing this very fact, but I wanted to do a monologue first. But before I do the monologue, please support my work by sharing the links of my videos. Please follow me on GETTR and Twitter. Please have your social network subscribe to this channel and all my channels. I have 3 channels on YouTube. I have Bitchute, Brighteon, and Rumble. Please subscribe to those, and please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and purchase the products that I offer. I also have the option for the viewers to donate, so you can donate on my website. It's on the home page at the very bottom. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. It's under the description of this video and all my videos. At the very bottom of that home page, you can donate through Stripe and PayPal. Good morning. And you can donate that way. You can also donate through Buy Me a Coffee. All the links are in the description. This channel, which is my larger channel, has, every time I do a post, I get, the way the algorithm works, it bleeds subscribers. So I need your help to help repopulate this channel. The other channels on YouTube and Brighteon, Bitchute, Rumble are growing. But this channel has all of the original timestamp data to cover the whole crisis. So this channel is heavily censored. So please help me repopulate this channel, and that's through sharing the links and having individuals subscribe, because YouTube is unsubscribing them. I'm not the only one that has this problem. Many people that covered the crisis in 2020 have a similar problem if their channel is still up. So please reach out to your social network to repopulate this channel and to follow me on all my channels, because I am censored. With that said, let's start with the monologue. All right, the premise of this is that DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is a stepping stone to leading to reparations in the United States. The agenda of DEI, at least on the surface, is to have a more pluralistic society. The problem is that the ones that are running, yes, it's also, it'll also be involved in the universal income. But so DEI is being promoted at these institutions, secondary educational institutions, state schools, Ivy League, right? And it's permeated also in corporate America. I'm no longer in corporate America, but the ones that are working in corporate America have seen this. I have seen the elevation of certain managers due to race and not due to competence. I use the term bitch boss, all right? You see it, it was very prevalent in finance. I didn't see it too much when I was in engineering, but when I started engineering, automotive engineering, not many females were involved. I mean, I started it in the early 90s. I didn't see females getting into engineering, into CAD/CAM, tool and die, system engineering until probably, I want to say 2004, something like that, was when I actually started working with female engineers. So, you know, and they were all good engineers. And it was through, I don't believe those hires were through DEI. Now, obviously, DEI didn't, I don't even believe DEI had a term in 2004. But we used the term affirmative action. And that term goes all the way back to the 60s. But these individuals went to good schools, good state schools, and were able to become system engineers. And the females that were working in the engineering department, we were working on a Nissan project at the time, and they were all competent. You know, they elevated to that position as an engineer because of competence, not because of their gender. Something happened radically. I started seeing it probably around 2012 in corporate. Now, I left corporate in 2018 to pursue medicine. Now, that's during the Obama administration. You know, that might have something to do with it. There's aspects of DEI, affirmative action, dealing with Obama. There's obviously aspects of DEI and affirmative action dealing with Claudine Gay, ex-president Claudine Gay. A side note, I was at the Harvard Club yesterday. Claudine Gay's picture is still up in the lobby. At the Harvard Club in New York, there are two main doors. There's the more prestigious door, and then the door that's a little bit more kind of like a hotel, because the Harvard Club is partially a hotel. I believe it's 2 floors there, a hotel, but it also has athletic facilities, and then the club and the library and all that. So there's kind of like a door that's a little bit more kind of for the hotel side, and then the more classical lobby. In the classical lobby, there's her picture over the concierge. I'll show you the picture. So Claudine Gay's picture here is right here. All right, it's still up in the club. What was interesting, and hopefully you can see that, but you know, it's still up in the club. I was told by the concierge that it was being taken down today. The curator at the Harvard Club does all the movement of the paintings and the pictures, and Harvard is almost like an art museum in a way, the club. With that said, that's the sidebar, right? But she was an affirmative action case. We use now, because of SCOTUS, the Supreme Court ruling, we don't use the word affirmative action anymore. It's DEI, it's moved into DEI, but DEI is a more encompassing, more umbrella term than affirmative action. And what I have been seeing is an erosion of competence in corporate America. This idea of superiority, not equality. And I was born and raised in Michigan, and my first 2 degrees were actually at Wayne State University down in Detroit. Very good research institution. And I remember, you know, seeing inner city, because it's an inner city school, state school, seeing the riffraff during my time down in Detroit. Most Detroiters, live in the suburbs, Ann Arbor or Livonia or Farmington Hills or Bloomfield Hills or wherever. So, but there, but my observation at that time was is that there was poverty, and that to get out of some of that problem isn't because of color, it's because of economic circumstance, and that to get educated and to move up the social ladder through education. Fast forward to today, and you start to see that there is a large population of, I'll call hoodlums, running around in the inner city. They don't want to be educated. They don't want to pull up their pants. Okay, so we're living in that kind of context. Not everybody fits in that category. I've seen minorities that do very well in school. There's other minorities that don't want to try, and they want a handout. And so DEI is partially, there's many aspects to it, but DEI is partially a mechanism for socialism. One of the individuals that text during this live recording, mentioned universal income. Well, this is part of it. So, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is another word for affirmative action. And DEI is not, from what I have seen, DEI is not about being diverse, a pluralistic society, a meritocracy at all. What it really is division. It's creating a division in the society to usher in socialistic programs. They're antithetical to capitalism, antithetical to the constitutional republic that we have. And it is eroding pillars that I think are very important in our society, such as having a religious component, having some concept of a religious foundation, having a foundation for family, traditional family, and having that, an association of country, and the idea of the pursuit of happiness, right? Without having to go through the tyranny of government. That's what our founding fathers were all about. But DEI is trying to erode that. So I feel as though individuals like myself, and perhaps even individuals that are listening to this video, have to really push back on DEI. Because what it will do over time, in corporate America, you will have individuals rising up to a position where they're not really that qualified and make big mistakes, and companies will blow up. Case in point, look at what happened with Bud Light. An American brand, major American brand, Budweiser, totally destroyed because they were pushing an agenda. All right? And this is where this whole pride movement is related to DEI. All right? We are seeing the destruction of Star Wars. Star Wars, the movies by Lucas, he sold it to Disney, and Disney has completely gentrified that franchise to the point where, I was raised, I remember seeing the very first Star Wars in the movie theater, all right, when it came out. They totally destroyed Star Wars because of this woke agenda. There have been people that work for Disney that have been caught in Zoom meetings stating that they were promoting a homosexual agenda. And to keep on pushing the limits. And the ones that ran Disney at the time allowed it to happen. They just kept on allowing that. And the ones that were running the show were, these DEI woke individuals. So we're using terms, DEI, affirmative action, woke. They're all related. They're all related. What I am concerned about is that DEI is going to bring in our institutions, work institutions, government, and academia, where you're going to have a population that is rising up without real skills. And even if they did still have those real skills, and they were competent in their job, were competent in as a professor, they're promoting an agenda that's socialistic, that's antithetical to religion, to country, to family. Case in point, I've been saying this covering the whole crisis in the Middle East. We have liberals that are whining about the collateral damage that the Israelis are creating in Gaza. Is that collateral damage real? Yes, it is. All wars have collateral damage. There's not a war that doesn't have collateral damage. Is it excessive? I think all collateral damage is excessive. But the reality of the situation is that there's a war that's going on. But where are the bleeding heart liberals talking about the babies they killed with these abortions, these abortion rights that they were pushing over the years? More children have died since 1970s because of abortion in the United States than any war. Those are facts. So now that's a long period of time, going from like around 1973 to 2023. But the point is that who are the types that are pushing that agenda? The socialists, the woke. So this is why I said that we have to get back to the foundations of having some sort of religious affiliation where our decisions are going to be judged by higher power. Have a stronger affiliation with our country. That means having a stronger affiliation with the good and bad of the history, not to whitewash it, not to pretend it didn't happen, but not to try to do revisionist history either. And just strengthen the family unit, the traditional family unit. These are conservative principles. DEI is not a conservative principle. It's actually a socialistic agenda to divide and conquer. And it's in many ways a Marxist takeover. Now, in corporate America, people are going to be scared to fight back because the bitch boss is going to tell you how it's going to be because they have a chip on their shoulder. Many males are fearful that if a colleague says something, negative about them because of, let's say it's a white male, they may be ostracized or not given a promotion or whatever. So they're walking on eggshells. It creates an environment that it's not diverse, there's not equity, and there's not inclusion. It creates a divisive environment. And usually the bitch boss will hire people that will placate to their, serfdom. So, so I think it creates not an inclusive environment. I think it actually creates an inclusive environment. In academia, professors are promoting socialism. I saw it on campus at Harvard. I saw it on campus at Fordham. All right, I saw it in medical school. There were individuals. Now, what's interesting about medical school is that conservative teachers are. If you just look at medical school faculty, I would say you have more conservatives than, let's say, in a typical grad school world, like maybe law or you know, in his Ph.D. track, or even in the colleges. All right. For some reason, medical school did seem to have a little bit more conservative, but the ones that were pushing the woke agenda were all female. All right. They were coming from epidemiology departments, and psychology, psychiatric departments. And there was this, you know, this kind of push of an awoke agenda. And you could see when we were dealing with being trained for how to conduct certain types of abortions, either through surgical means or through pharmaceutical means. You could see a student body that was conservative, you know, it was like, well, wait a minute here. There was a little bit of a pushback. You could see with the student body, there was, you know, who were the conservatives, who weren't. And it's a strange situation to actually be trained on how to do these things and, you know, be a conservative. Now, so I think we have to look at different pillars of society: the corporate pillar, the government pillar, and the academic pillar when it's dealing with DEI. You know, on the academic side, they're training the new citizens of society into thinking socialistically, not capitalistically. Not about merit. It's about, did you check the right box? To get into these schools, did you check the right box? You know, and believe me, it's not white male is the right box to check, right? But you know, the point I'm making is that there is an assault on the religion component, the family component, and the country component. These individuals are promoting open borders. They're promoting the destruction of the currency. If you don't have a control of your currency or your borders, you don't have a country. So there is an orchestrated effort. There is an orchestrated effort to create this division. So when you have, over the years, over a decade, young individuals that are impressionable being told by a faculty that is highly skewed to socialism, highly skewed to liberalism, maybe even ultra-liberal in many cases, you're going to have those citizens going into the workforce that are promoting this agenda, this DEI, this socialistic agenda, to the point where they get into HR, they get into high positions, they get into the management positions, and they will only hire people that conform. So this is a danger for the society. It's not inclusive. It's not diverse. DEI is actually a mechanism to be segregated. Now that goes to this leads to the next really important point, and that is it'll lead to reparations. It's hard. Reparations, for the ones that don't know, is basically, in the United States, is for blacks to be paid for the institutional slavery in the United States. Blacks have more opportunity now than they ever did. There are more black billionaires than ever in history. All right? So to say they don't have opportunities doesn't make much sense. Are there still socioeconomic problems in the inner city? Yeah, but it's not just for the blacks. It's for the Latinos, and it's, you know, for the whites. It's even for poor Asians, especially immigrants. It's a socioeconomic issue. It's not about, if you really look at it, it's not about race. They want to make it seem as though it's about race. And there's even a bigger issue. Why are they pushing DEI so hard? Well, I'll tell you. There is a small window of opportunity to push this reparations, to get money, either directly through taxation or indirectly through some sort of social program that will be inflationary, where money is given to black individuals. All right. California and New York are already investigating how they're going to implement this. You don't believe me? Just do a little bit of research. California state legislature and the New York state legislature are all looking into this. So they're pushing reparations, but why are they pushing so hard DEI? Why was Claudine Gay pushed so hard? Because of the immigration policy that the United States has. The blacks have a very small percentage relative to the population. They're only about 14%, 15%, plus or minus some percentage points of the population. You go on TV and you would think that half of America's black. They're only 14%. The Latino cohort is growing. And they are going to eclipse, in terms of having social power in government, than the blacks. And that's why they're pushing. Because they have a window of opportunity where if they don't make their move, they're not going to get it. So, and that window of opportunity is within a 10-year period. This next 10 years is really going to be important for them to try to solidify across the 50 states some sort of reparations. Now, maybe not all 50 states will comply, and I'm not even sure that this is even legal, because there are some precedents during the Lincoln's administration at the end of the Civil War, where it was about Reconstruction, after the war, and it wasn't about reparations. And I think that there are some legal arguments to be made. I'm not a lawyer, but I would say that how government was navigating and how Lincoln was navigating post-war Civil War. He didn't last for very long because he was assassinated. But what his philosophical thoughts were at the end of the war, and how to bring back the South into the Union and to strengthen the Union. It's about strengthening the Union, true diversity. And this country is a great country. You go to anyone that has gone and spent time overseas, our country is the most pluralistic country in the world. All right, even we have all these problems that are going on, we still are the most pluralistic society. All right, blacks have more opportunity now than they have ever had, ever, in society, in human history. And again, there are more billionaire blacks than ever before. So, the reality of the situation is that it's about socioeconomical problems that need to be addressed. But a lot of that is through education. A lot of that's through hard work. It's not just education. It's not just hard work. There's a luck component too. But take the mindset of an immigrant. Usually an immigrant that comes to the United States, they're scraping by. Their kids end up going to college, right? And moving up the social ladder. And then their kids, so the grandkids, end up having an even better life. And that's the way most families that have immigrated to the United States, that was their trajectory. But DEI has a tendency to try to play the blame game. So individuals get special treatment, socialistic programs, yada, 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 right? And they want to blame society. for their ills. Claudine Gay, for example, blamed in her resignation letter, and so did the Harvard Corporation, blamed racism as the reason why Claudine Gay was stepping down. But the reality of the situation is that she was an affirmative action case. In the terms that we use today, it's a DEI. But she was, you're not a Haitian immigrant, right? You know, her parents were Haitian immigrants. She was born in New York, spent a lot of time in Saudi Arabia when her father worked for the military in the Army Corps of Engineers in Saudi Arabia, and then she comes back and all of a sudden she goes to the top boarding school in the country, Phillips Exeter Academy. How did that happen? How did that happen? That's odd. That is like, she comes out of nowhere. And the proof's in the pudding, right? She didn't, when you're in academia, you usually publish a lot of papers to be able to get tenure, to be able to climb up that whole academic ladder. She published like almost nothing. Now, there are people that have PhDs that don't publish. I don't publish that much, and I have a PhD. The reason being is that I decided to take a corporate, track, not a tenure academic track. So, there are different types of PhDs, but she decided to take the academic track. Now, I do think that she has some administrative skills to save money for the university, and she proved that during the deficit that FAS, the Faculty of Arts and Sciences at Harvard, had. They had I think it was a $20 million deficit, and she ended up having a surplus. Maybe it was a $12 million deficit, but either way, it was a serious deficit. The bottom line is that she has some skills. And maybe what we're seeing is the beginnings of an administrative faculty versus a more scholastic faculty at these universities. Maybe we're seeing that bifurcation. I don't know. But the point here is that there seems to be special privileges, special considerations when it came to Claudine Gay. So, keep this in mind, that DEI is about creating a division, creating a social stir where there is segregation of thought and of people to allow the ushering in of reparations. If we had a truly pluralistic society, and blacks, men and women, just amalgamated with the population and didn't ghettoize themselves physically or academically or economically, if they truly amalgamated with the society, which the natural progression of just a free market is allowing to happen. You don't have to have such, this is a big topic that I'm talking about here. Just let the free market work, have it emerge. It would be hard to push reparations because these individuals, there'd be a larger population of people that are successful, and this quote structural, what they call structural racism, which I think is questionable if it even exists in large mass. It may be local, but I don't think it's global. I don't think it's nationwide structural racism. But in the 50s it was, but we're not in the 50s. That was a long time ago. There was structural racism many decades ago. But the reality of the situation is that opportunities are there for these individuals. Some are taking those opportunities and some are not. Some are taking the opportunities and still, claiming their structural racism. DEI is not about diversity and inclusion. DEI is about division and superiority. Create an environment where the bitch boss is superior, not equal. They're not looking for, and if you push back, then what do they say? Racism, structural racism. And that was exactly what was in the resignation letter from Claudine Gay. Blame racism for her ailments. Blame racism because of the things that happened to her. The reality of the situation is that she was promoting a certain agenda. It's not just her. I mean, there are people much, much higher than her that she's that are promoting this DEI agenda. All right. But by creating this division, it is allowing for the reparations to take hold. Because they'll just say, you see, it's black versus white, and we want money. We want that $25,000 or $50,000, which I'm not making this up. I mean, that's what they're looking at in California. $25,000 to $50,000 payout to every individual black for reparations. Now, think about that. There's an awful lot of Americans that weren't even Americans during the Civil War. They have no part of it. Why should they be taxed? Why should an immigrant that comes to America in the 1980s, let's say from Asia, or let's say from, Denmark, have to pay tax? And let's say they're living in California. Why should they have to pay tax for reparations? But that's the policy that they're trying to create. Because if you create division now, you'll just say that it's been such a structural over, hundreds of years, and that the only way to rectify it is to give them money. The bottom line, this is like a holdup. This is like a burglary. It's you're held up and you have to give money to the person that is holding you up, and you're afraid you're going to lose your life, or lose your job, or lose your credentials, or lose the opportunity to advance. So you just pay it out. How's that any different than someone on the MTA in New York trying to steal from someone? It's no different. It really isn't. It's not any different. And the moment that they get their $25K and blow it, or $50K and blow it, or get some special provision where they get a 3% mortgage loan while everyone else is getting a 5, 6, or 7% mortgage loan. Once they blow that money, what are they going to do? They're going to do just like what a robber does in New York. They'll rob again. And they'll kick and scream and say that's structural racism. It'll never end. So it's rewarding bad behavior, while many parts of their society can't even pull up their pants. Now, some people may say, this sounds all racist, Paul, and blah, blah, blah. You know what? The bottom line is, DEI is trying to destroy our country. They're trying to usher in socialism. And they're trying to create a division where the society is unproductive. And this is very similar to a Marxist takeover. Now, what I'm going to play here is a video that that's on YouTube. And please, it's about 10 minutes long. It's really important to listen to. I believe the researcher that is being interviewed on Sky, this is Sky News Australia, is the wife of Neil Ferguson. And she has an amazing story. So just listen to her argument on this. It's in line with what I'm saying. She probably says it more eloquently than I do, which is okay. But I think that we need to keep in mind that when Claudine Gay was taken down because of her scholarship and her lack of true leadership in dealing with the crisis at the University of Harvard, we have to look at it in the context that DEI is rotting the foundations of our country, and that we need to go back to free markets. We need to go back to some simple stuff like, a religious foundation, a family foundation, and, a country, having some pride in our country. And to say that, yes, there's been things that have gone wrong in our history, and there are things that have gone right in our history, and that we, the people, the pluralists, we the people, all of us, can make this world a better union, not destroy it through DEI. So let's play this.
To the resignation of the president of Harvard, Claudine Gay, has been predictably divided. For some, the university's first black head deserved to lose her job after accusations of plagiarism and a completely shambolic performance at a congressional hearing on anti-Semitism last month.
And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment, yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals. So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign.
Amazing. All depends on the context, apparently. Anyway, some people are ignoring that and are claiming that there's actually a sinister racial agenda in this sacking. The civil rights activist, Reverend Al Sharpton, said that Gay's resignation is, quote, an assault on the health, strength, and future of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, my next guest has done a lot of thinking about this subject, and
Now, let me just interrupt with that and just, state these black leaders like Al Sharpton have been pushing an agenda. It was an affirmative action agenda in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Now it's the DEI. But if something happens and they don't like about it, they scream racism. And that's the problem that I'm talking about. If they don't like something, it's screaming racism. Believe me, if those protests that were happening at the Widener Library weren't pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protests, but there were some sort of anti-black protest where it was generic phrasing like from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific, send them back to their land, all right? I'm willing to bet that those students would have been thrown out of the university because they would have viewed it as that's anti-black. That is racist. And here's the problem with DEI. They want special privilege. It's all about the bitch boss trying to make sure that everyone else licks their boot. It's a socialistic takeover. And it leads to reparations. It leads to taxation.
she says it's time to make merit matter more than liberal box ticking. Delighted to welcome to Uncensored research fellow at Stanford's Hoover Institute, the author and activist Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Ayaan Hirsi Ali, thanks so much for joining us on Uncensored. Tell me...
Oh, Douglas, thank you for having me.
Well, tell me first, what do you make of the Reverend Al Sharpton's claim there? This is all about race, apparently.
it's not all about race, it's about the mediocrity mafia that he represents so well and that he has profited from for so many years. And I think it's time that we ditch this diversity, equity, and inclusion movement that is really all about dismantling and degrading our institutions. They're about expunging our history, and they're about indoctrinating kids at school. And it starts at universities and it goes beyond that. And I'm really one of those people today who is celebrating the resignation of Claudine Gay, but I think I'm also realistic enough to say that is just at the surface. The problem is much deeper. It started at universities, it has spread to corporations, it has spread to lower ed, from K to 12. It's everywhere in America. And I think it's time that we take a good look, a good deep look at what's going on, and this is just the start.
I agree with you, Anne. I mean, this is why it matters. Sometimes people think that what happens at Harvard is just a bit of Ivy League stuff, but it isn't, as you say, because it's going out all across the rest of America, indeed the rest of the world. I mean, or the rest of the West.
Let me interrupt again. He's making a good point. A lot of people think, oh, this is just a Harvard issue. The reality of the situation is what happens at Harvard happens in the United States and affects the whole world. And the case in point, the whole Vietnam domino theory issue, where and the strategy of the Cold War and going into Vietnam, that all came out of Harvard. That whole fiasco of trying to have a never-ending war in Asia, in Indochina, all right, came out of Harvard. There are many things that are nefarious, especially in regional studies, out of the government, out of the School of Government, that are pushing certain policies to try to steer the society in a certain direction. And unfortunately, who are the people that are running these institutions? Crazy liberals. These are these liberals that have an agenda, and almost always the ones that are pushing it have a certain type of position that they can benefit through power and through wealth. They have a certain position in the market or whatever, and they'll benefit. That's the reason why that a lot of these people are promoting this climate agenda stuff. They position themselves to profit handsomely if there is a switch in consumer behavior. So keep that in mind. There are these puppet masters that are, and unfortunately, some of these puppet masters are coming from Harvard.
Anyway, plenty of people in China are getting on with things anyway. But just going back quickly to Claudine Gay at Harvard, I mean, I find it pretty startling that this is a woman who became president of perhaps the most elite university in America. And she published no books. She published 11 articles in her career. And it's turned out that much of them were just plagiarized, stolen from other people. So how did she even get there in the first place?
She has 50 allegations of plagiarism against her. Douglas, my grandmother would not trust Claudine Gay to herd her goats. This woman could not be the president of Harvard. I don't understand how this happened, and yet I do. And people like me, Helen Placrose, James Lindsay. There were so many of us early on who saw this years and years ago and who kept on saying, this thing is rotten. It's not going to go away. We were told so many times, oh, it's universities, radical ideas emerge in universities, but over time they disappear. No, the rot is deep. And this woman is one small representative of it. She's gone. And my big worry, Douglas, now is that they're going to say, okay, this woman is gone, the one at Penn University is gone, and, we're going to have a new president, we're going to maybe have a new board and move on. And I think that would be such a squandering of opportunity for real reform.
Let me give you another couple of reactions to her resignation this week. Ibram X. Kendi, the author of a book called How to Be an Anti-Racist, which I think the wrong title for it. You should just take anti out. Ibram X. Kendi said that in the wake of Claudine Gay's resignation, racist mobs won't stop until they topple all black people from positions of power and influence. And Ida Bay Wells, Nicole Hannah-Jones, one of the authors of the 1619 Project for the New York Times, said after the resignation, academic freedom is under attack, racial justice programs are under attack, black women will be made to pay. I mean, there are still people clinging on to this, aren't there, Ayan? This sort of, somebody must be defended simply on the color of their skin, and all the claims of plagiarism, which would get any student chucked out, and all the inability to condemn racism, which would normally lead to condemnation, all that sort of brushed to one side, because what really matters is just the color of somebody's skin to these people.
Ibram X. Kendi is a racist. He is a certified racist. Everything, all the work he has done, all his actions are about promoting racism. And so this man is being outed. What he stands for is being exposed. And I think what's happening now is because of this exposure, the kind of, they have this magical, I'm looking for the word, the spell that they've been putting on people. Just by calling them racist, they would get what they want out of them. They would get the positions, the stature, the money. I think all of that's going to disappear. So they're now coming out in panic and saying, oh my goodness, everybody is a racist. Black people will be. No, black people will benefit from this. Finally, those individuals who are black, who have worked hard for their degrees and the positions they have and their businesses, those people are going to shine. And these like mafia, mediocre mafia people, they're going to be exposed and hopefully be taken to where they belong, which is the dustbin of history.
Now, couldn't agree more, but Ayan, just tell me, I mean, it's so much wider this for the whole of society, isn't it? Because, I mean, once these ideas of, you know, prioritizing people because of their race or their sex or their sexuality, once those things are pushed to the forefront, then all the issues of merit get inevitably just pushed to the back. And that just has a trickle-down effect on every aspect of society, every job, every recruitment process. You're, if I can say so, I mean, you're an amazing example of merit in your own life. You escaped a forced marriage, went to the Netherlands, learned Dutch, which isn't easy, became a member of the Dutch Parliament, and built a career for yourself in Europe and then America. Why is it, though, that this sort of merit-based system, why do you think it's become so unpopular? Because surely, as you say, it's the best chance anyone has.
It's not unpopular, but this is a very loud minority that want to get ahead only for themselves. And then they're claiming they speak for all blacks, for all women, for all, gender identity minorities. They don't speak for any of these minorities. They do this so that they can get ahead. Ibrahim X. Kendi speaks for himself. Claudine Gay speaks for herself. She doesn't speak for me. I think it's very important, Douglas, to note that there are disparities in our societies. There are large groups of people who are left behind. And it's extremely important to tackle that. And the way to do it and the way to lift up the people who are left behind is to make them a part of the values that make us come ahead, the values of hard work, the values of community, the values of commitment, of responsibility, of getting up in the morning, of lifting yourself up by your bootstraps. That, I think, is what, for me, America is all about. And we can do that without degrading the standards of what has lifted up everyone out of poverty.
She is right on the message here, 100%. And here's what I see in New York. There are many, many, many blacks that are not willing to make their bed and pull up their pants. And what they want to do is to say that their ills are because of whitey, or because of the government, because of society in general, structural racism. Meanwhile, they're smoking crack and knocking up a bunch of hoes. That's the society that they want to blame society for their ills. Meanwhile, they're living in a country where even if you couldn't afford education, but there are many, many ways to get an education in the United States, formal education, through government programs, right? But even if they couldn't even get those, you could go to a library and learn. And those books are for free. And get a skill that earns you some money, and then eventually you move up the ladder and maybe you can earn enough money to go for formal education. There are ways to get out of these economic situations that people are in. And these economic situations are for Asians, for whites, for blacks, for Latinos, the whole spectrum. And let's face it, the black population is relatively low. Relatively low. And they want you to think that there's such structural racism with only 14%, 15% of the population. Yeah, right. It just doesn't hold water anymore. Was there problems with segregation in the 50s and the 40s in the United States? Absolutely. But what about those states that were inclusive at that time? Not everybody was, deep South segregation in the 40s and the 50s. The problem is that they're looking up to people, the blacks are looking up to people that are doing b-ball, right? Basketball, making a lot of money on basketball or being a rapper, and they think that's their only ticket. Look at how they behave in the public schools. And it's not just the blacks that are misbehaving in the public schools, it's also the whites. There's a behavioral issue on top of it that I believe that DEI is helping to promote. Because you're creating woke teachers that aren't very good, and they're not willing to truly discipline the children, and they don't learn and they become less productive. It goes back to strong family, strong identity to country, and having some religious foundation, some morality. And DEI is trying to erode that. So you'll hear the Alan Sharptons out there and all the ones that are pushing the affirmative action agenda or the DEI agenda and say it's everyone that is against Claudine Gay must be a racist. Must be a racist. Al Sharpton only cares about a power grab. And it's all about reparations. And the only way that they can get that reparations is they can try to divide the society even further. And DEI is all about that, and programming the young of all ethnicities that the white male, the white, everyone is against the black. That's the problem. That's the problem that we have. And so now you have conservative individuals like myself pushing back and saying, wait a minute here. It's about free market. It's about hard work. It's about luck. It's about, having social responsibility of one's conduct. Pull up your pants, make your bed. It's really, it really starts right there. Brush your teeth, make your bed, and pull up your pants. Not reparations.
And this is what these people are doing, and I think it's time that they're exposed and called out. And this is just the beginning. Let's get down to where the rot is.
I couldn't agree more. But finally, let me just ask you. I mean, this seems to have come about because of an idea that everything's a zero-sum game. If for instance, if women are going to be advanced in society, men have to be punished. If there's going to be more visibility of gay people, you've got to punish straight people and degrade straight people. And that if you're going to make more opportunities, or not even more opportunities, just put people in positions of more prominence in American society or British society, you've got to sort of beat up on white people a bit. And all the studies have shown in recent years, in America and in Britain, there was one again just a couple of years ago, that this means, among other things, that you have the left behind of white men, young white men, who nobody's speaking up for.
Absolutely, you hear that all the time. You don't want black men to move ahead and leave white young men behind. You want everyone to advance. And I think in order to do this, we have to be really honest about the frameworks that we have, the framework of equal opportunity, not equity as they call it, which is the E in the DEI, which is about equal outcomes. And we know where equal outcomes, we know where hardcore socialism and hardcore communism, we know where they lead. They lead to more disparity, more division, and they lead to the gulags. And that's what these people are all about. And I think I'm just really grateful that the conversation has now begun and that we can address disparities and fight racism, fight misogyny, stand up for people with gender dysphoria, and not have their suffering used against them, so that people like these crazy transgender activists can get ahead. And I think, Douglas, Happy New Year. I think we are starting the new year off on a good place.
Well, I agree, but who'd have thought that Harvard was the place which DEI went to die? Thank you very much, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. You're welcome back anytime.
I think her conversation during that interview was excellent. And I think she has the street cred to, really shine a light on the fallacies of DEI. Here's the problem, and someone someone in the chat, was saying, look, you whiteness. First of all, that's not even a full sentence, but it's an incomplete sentence. But the thing is that there is luck. I view the world in the lens of you have to put in the hard work, you have to study, you have to create the connections, and there is luck in life, right? And the problem is that the minorities view that stochastic process, the luck, that randomness, as some sort of structural racism kind of thing. There are an awful lot of people that start businesses and say they may be successful for a few years and then they're not successful anymore for whatever reason, changing of consumer behavior, some sort of black swan event that happens that hurts the business. So there is a luck aspect to it. There's a chaotic process too. But over time, throughout hard work, there's more stability, so you can absorb those negative and positive, and benefit from the positive randomness. There's negative randomness and positive randomness. We use the term luck or bad luck, but there's positive and negative randomness in our lives. And when you become more and more financially stable, you can absorb those negative random shocks and benefit from the positive random shocks. Now, in terms of street cred and understanding this concept that I have, I've spent a lot of time in chaos theory. Right? So, I understand what I'm talking about here. It's not structural racism. What it is the inability of a group of people to realize that you have to think not just individualistically, you have to think generationally. And this is how you build family wealth. You have to think generationally. Hard work for one generation to help to benefit the next generation. And this comes back to that concept of family, country, and religion. When you don't have those strong foundations, you're not going to understand what I'm saying. Because you got to think in not just the individual context, but also the generational context, your family context, the country context. There is a certain part of the society, at certain times in one's life that there's going to have to be sacrifice for the betterment of the society. Case in point, look at what happened on D-Day. Another is that, people don't want to go to school. Most people don't want to go to school. I mean, it's a pain, right? And it costs a lot of money. Now it does. I mean, it was much cheaper 30 years ago. But, most people don't want to go. I mean, some people do, but they would prefer just to get the good job and not have to go to school, which is understandable. But you have to put in your time, right? You have to put some sacrifice, some hard work into building up a skill set. Not everybody that comes out of college is going to be super successful. So there's a luck component to it. Same thing, some people don't go to college and become very, very successful. There's a luck component to it too. Look at, in the context of basketball players, right? They have to be on the court and they have to practice a lot, right? They have to put in the hard work, but there's also a luck component, being able to, shine on the court, and there's some sort of recruiter that gets them into a good school, and they, win a championship and get to the professional league in basketball. The luck of not blowing out your knee while you're on the court. So there is luck. There is luck to it. So it's not about whiteness. And so here's the issue. When people just write these kinds of things, one, it just accentuates the ignorance of the individual. But not just that, it's not looking at the problem in its true context. There's a luck component, there's a hard work component. And it's not about, I didn't get the same result, and therefore it must be structural racism. And so this gets back to, what was going on the campus and what's going on across the country and the world. DEI is about creating the oppressed and the oppressor class. And they want to blame the ills on the oppressors, all right? Whoever they are, right? Different groups will have different, quote, oppressors. And we need to kind of take stock and just say, take responsibility for for yourself and those individual agents within the society, those individuals. There will be an emergent behavior where the society becomes more prosperous. This is what is called free market capitalism, but the free market, just the emergence of these interests, right, emerge and make a better society. That doesn't mean that everything's going to be perfect, but it's way better than engineered societies, social engineering societies. That's socialism, is social engineered societies. Communism is social engineered societies. A free market is not a social engineered society. It's messy. It's not perfect, but it's way more productive. And the outcomes are far better. Equal outcome is socialism. Equal outcome doesn't allow for the incentive to do better. There have been experiments done in school where students are given choices, all right? And the students can pick the grading of their tests based on performance, based on a certain percentage correct versus incorrect, right? And that's the typical way how people are graded, right? Or you can say that everybody gets the score that the highest person gets. Well, what happens is that the students over time, will start to realize why try. But that individual that's really trying to learn is pulling the weight of the whole class. So they're getting an A, everyone else isn't trying, and they get an E, right? But everyone gets an A because the best one pulled the rest of the class. And this is, I think, emblematic of what DEI is. DEI is about, trying to blame the performers that they're at fault, and that the ones that aren't performing should be given the same performance. And so here you get the grade inflation, and grade inflation is a big problem in these universities now, because grad school is becoming more and more competitive, especially for law and for medicine. So, just a slight reduction in GPA may, hurt their application. So there's another component to that. Plus the professors are worried about getting sued, creating some sort of argument with the student and hurting their career in some way, because a lot of professors are adjuncts, so they want to keep their job. They're walking on eggshells every semester or every year to get the contract renewed, and the students play the game, right? The students are telling the professor what grade they should have. That's how it's happening in all these universities, all right? Maybe not in every class, but it's happening in all the universities. So, there's this problem with this equity idea of equal outcomes. DEI is rot for the country, and it started as affirmative action, and it's been rebranded, and it's much more Marxist, much more. It has deeper roots in Marxism. So that's my take on it, and I'm sure that people are just not going to agree, and that's okay. You don't have to agree. We're a pluralistic society. But don't blame people for your ills. Don't, it's not about other races should not be blamed for a large percentage of a certain population not pulling up their pants, thinking that being a hoodlum is right, bringing down society, stealing from stores. How can you justify stealing from Nike store and say that's structural racism? See? It's a hoodlum mentality. It's a robbing mentality. It's a thieving mentality. And just because they write it in law for, let's say, reparations, doesn't mean that it's not theft from a moral standpoint, because laws can be immoral. You can write in immoral laws. That's why it's so important to have a foundation in religion. It gives you a North Star. If you lose family, country, and religion, you don't have a North Star. You don't have a guiding star. How do you move through society? And the individuals that don't have these North Stars can't pull up their pants. They have to steal from Nike store. They have to destroy property. They have to go to Home Depot and steal equipment. They have to go to Walmart and steal. They have to go to Target and vandalize. They have to go to CVS or Walgreens and steal. And they want to blame it on structural racism. This is what AOC, I'm not making this up. This is happening in real time in inner cities in America. And AOC is promoting it, justifying it. This is an element of DEI. Mark my words, I'm, again, not wrong, you know. There's not anyone on, as a YouTuber that, you know, everyone, it seems like everyone has some sort of mug that people can buy on, you know, on their favorite YouTuber, right? You know, Alex Jones has a mug, and Steven Crowder has a mug, and Ben Shapiro has a mug, and everyone. I don't sell mugs. I promote ideas, all right? I try to save the country. I don't sell mugs, but I do have probably the best mug that is on the planet. I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. DEI is rotting America. With that said, because it's about trying to improve your health, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video and in the chat. I have many, many different products, all right? And for the people that have been watching me for years, I have this idea that you bring down inflammation, you neutralize pathogens, you neutralize reactive oxygen species, and that will slow down aging and improve your immune system. Some of the products that I offer are a toothpaste that is a structural nano silver toothpaste. This neutralizes pathogens. This will help to whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, right? Reduce gingivitis and gum disease. And because it is neutralizing the pathogen and it doesn't have fluoride, it's reducing vascular problems, you know, and valvular disease. So please go to the store and get the toothpaste. That toothpaste that I have on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, is the best toothpaste that you can get. All right? Nobody sells a better toothpaste. All right? I also have structural nano silver soaps. All right? I have them in 5 different varieties. This one happens to be lavender. This is a very high quality product. And it would be, you know, and this one is charcoal, tea tree. I have 5 different varieties. Please go to the store. It's a great product to have as a gift, or you know, it neutralizes pathogens. Magnesium and zinc. You need this every day to boost up your immune system. I take it every day. If you're sick, take a double dose of it. It boosts up the immune system. Structural nano silver gel. This one I believe is at 35 ppm. Yeah, 35 ppm. This is in a container that you just, it's a pump container, so it's great to put in your bag. This, you put it on your hands, it'll neutralize pathogens for about 5 hours. You put it on your skin, around your nose, around your mouth, around your ears, around your eyes, right? And it'll neutralize pathogens. You can also use this as a skincare product. You can put it on your skin before you go to bed and then exfoliate when you wake up in the morning, and it'll improve your skin. I have a great series of lozenges. I have sweet menthol lozenges in 20 count and also green apple 20 count. I also have a 100 count blueberry drops and honey and lemon 100 count drops. I take structural nano silver liquid every day, teaspoon of it. What I do is I swish it in my mouth and gargle with it about 20 seconds each, and then swallow it. All right. What that does is it's neutralizing the pathogen. It's synergistic with the toothpaste. So you know, use the toothpaste, and then I usually right before breakfast I'll take my liquid here and then swallow it, right? That's neutralizing the pathogens. So what it's doing is it's neutralizing pathogens in your mouth, deep in your throat, and down your esophagus, all right? Take this every day. Teaspoon. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or 2 a day. Clarity factor. this helps to bring down that brain fog. That brain fog is prevalent in society, especially because people are eating GMO foods and taking fluorinated water. Stop eating GMO foods and stop drinking fluorinated water. Filter your water, eat healthy, and take Clarity Factor. You'll be able to concentrate better at work or in school, and you'll get those dendritic connections more active, and so you'll have a better neuroplasticity, and you'll be able to think better. This is part of an anti-aging protocol. You do this on a regular basis, and you're going to slow down the aging of your neurons. Turmeric. It brings down that inflammatory response. It's part of that anti-aging protocol. So take turmeric every day. In addition to taking turmeric, I also take ashwagandha to control the blood glucose levels. So what happens is that now you're bringing down that inflammatory response, and so now you're moving towards homeostasis. Your body is not inflamed all the time. So take ashwagandha, it controls the blood glucose levels. Having a high glucose count increases that inflammatory response. Resveratrol, all right? It's an antioxidant. It's also synergistic with C60. This is very important to get rid of senescent cells. So take this every day. It's part of the anti-aging protocol. Vitamin C, you have to take every day, all right? But not just that, if you're sick, take some more. You gotta drink it with water, because it's water soluble. And it'll also help to improve your skin, especially if you're coupling it with the skincare protocol that I keep on telling people about. You take the vitamin C every day, you take a scoop of collagen every day, right? And you mix this. This is a powder, right? So, you know, what I do is I mix it with milk, all right? So you drink that, all right? And then you take the vitamin C and you use the two different either or structural nanosilver gels that I have. I have a tube form and this pump form, all right? And you put it on your skin at night, right? And then you exfoliate during the, you know, in the morning. And what you'll notice is that your skin is actually improving. Now, if you want to give it a little bit of extra kick, your skin is repopulating from a basal layer. You flake off skin, because the higher level of the skin has more keratin. And your skin flakes off, right? Well, there's a basal layer that allows for new skin cells to be produced. Well, if that basal layer isn't healthy, then you're not going to have healthy skin. If the basal layer is healthy, then you will have healthier skin. So the whole point here is that to improve the basal layer, you need to take the resveratrol and the C60. C60 is a compound that is in either I sell it either in coconut oil or in avocado oil, and you take a teaspoon of that a day, and what that does is it's neutralizing the free radicals, so the cells are healthier, and the mitochondria in those cells are healthier, and you have more ATP. So the basal layer is going to be improved when you take the resveratrol and the C60. And you couple that with that protocol, that skin protocol, the collagen, the vitamin C, drinking 64 ounces of filtered water throughout the day, and putting on the gel at night, and you're going to see an improvement on your skin. Another thing that improves your skin is this getting your gut biome into homeostasis. People don't realize that our metabolism is based on our gut. Our mental health and mental acuity is also related to our gut health. Our liver health is related to our gut health, because there's a direct communication between the absorption of nutrients and it feeding right into the liver. right? So through the portal vein. So the point here is that gut health is a real important system to get into homeostasis. I have a powder and I have it in a capsule form by Amio. This one's by Boomer. I take the powder form because I mix it with hummus every day. Now, by doing that, you're going to improve your metabolism. You're going to be able to absorb better nutrients. You're going to have this better communication with your liver, and you're going to have a better communication with your brain, which allows you to have better mental acuity. It'll reduce depression, because depression is also correlated to gut health, and it'll help with being regular. And by doing that, you're gonna get that body in homeostasis, and you add all these other things that I've been talking about, and you're really gonna push that envelope and slow down that aging process, get your immune system more active, and therefore your body's healing. And if you do get a pathogen, you have a stronger chance of fighting it. Now, it's nothing that I'm saying is a silver bullet, but the point here is that it's about you taking charge of your health and bringing up your immune system to a point where it gives you a higher probability of fighting whatever you may be contracting. Now, when you're boosting up your immune system, you're also improving your CD4 count, you're improving your CD8, you're improving your natural killer cells, you're improving your cytokine profile. And when you do that, you have a higher chance of fighting cancer. All right, so there is a correlation with bad immune system and cancer. There's a correlation of bad immune system and having an inability to fight pathogens. People that have bad immune systems always get sick. People that have overreactive immune systems may have autoimmune diseases, so their cytokine profile's all out of whack, and hyperinflamed. So just take my advice and take charge of your life. How is this kind of related to the topic of this video of DEI? It's about taking charge of your life. Don't blame people for things. Don't blame society for the elements economically or physically. You got to take a look at what can you do to improve your situation. All right? Take charge of your life. Take charge of your education. Take charge of your health. Take charge of your finances. Don't fall in victimhood. Now, again, we need luck too, right? But when you take charge of your life by eating properly, by exercising properly, by stretching properly, by challenging your mind properly, doing proper supplementation, all these things will lead to a better life, will lead to a higher probability of having more energy, having more vitality, and enjoying the life that we have on this earth. It's even if you live for 80 or 90 years, 80 or 90 years isn't that long. And everyone that's listening to this probably only has 30 or 40 years left of their life or less. So, the little time that we do have left, it's important to enjoy it and not to be a victim. There are corporations out there that are trying to hurt you, right? But you can fight it. You don't have to eat GMO food. You don't have to fall victim to the things that have been happening in our society. You can become a protector of your soul, if you want to. It's up to you. Do you want to? Do you want to strengthen the foundations that make a healthy society and the foundations that make a healthy individual? That is up to you, right? I can't do that. I can point you in the right direction, you know, and people, I just to close up here, you know, I've been told by many people, oh, you know, you talk about, you know, the things that the crisis that happened in 2020, you know, all the way to 2023, and you're not offering any solutions. And it's like, obviously, these people that are saying that aren't listening to me, because I've been saying for 4 years on how to boost up your immune system and the problems that the immune system is having during the crisis and in the post era of the crisis. Boost up your immune system. All right, trust me on this. So, thank you for listening. Please help this, you know, fight the censorship by sharing the links. Please subscribe to all 3 YouTube channels that I have. Links are in the description of this video and all of the videos. And please ask your social network to follow me. You know, this video that I'm doing is going to, because of the algorithm, this is the big channel, because of the algorithm, I will lose more subscribers every time I publish on the big channel. All right? So, and I'm not the only one this is happening to. Many people this is happening to. So please, I need your help to fight the censorship. You fight the censorship by sharing the links, by making sure that you subscribe to all 6 channels, and make sure that your social network subscribes to all 6 channels. Imagine where you might be if you didn't have a person like myself. And imagine where you might be as we're going through a potentially even worse crisis on the horizon, as the big event is happening. So it's a slow rollout of a big event. All right? And there's a spiritual component to it. So just imagine when that does happen, a person like myself is silenced. Where are you going to be? So it behooves you to help. It's up to you. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.